Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 modding video, and today we're trying out something new for the channel. A lot of you guys have been requesting a series where I do in-depth load orders or overhauls to the game, and I figured it's about time that we try something like that. So this is going to be the first episode of an overhaul guide to turn Fallout 4 into Fallout New Vegas. Now there are a lot of mods that allow us to do so, and it's going to take quite a few videos to get absolutely everything in here, as it's going to be a little bit in depth. Today we're going to be focusing on landscape overhauls as well as UI so that your game has the right New Vegas feel. And then in future episodes we'll be going over gameplay, enemies, armors, weapons, and all those other goodies. In order to show off all of these mods properly, we'll be starting with a nearly vanilla game and then adding these mods one by one so you can see how they add on top of each other to make a truly new experience for Fallout 4. So for the purposes of today, since we are trying to turn Fallout 4 into New Vegas, we're going to need a huge landscape overhaul, and that's why we're using Desperados by Spiffyskytrooper. You're going to want to feel out that desert landscape, and Desperados, in my opinion, is one of the best mods to do that. There are other options out there like Badlands, but I think Desperados has the most New Vegas vibe. It's going to remove all of the trees in the wasteland, mostly, and any trees that are left are going to be dead and barren, just like you'd expect to find in a desert. By no means does this make sense for Boston, but if you want a desert landscape in your game, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to, and Desperados is going to be the key to doing so. Much like the landscape of New Vegas, like I said, this is pretty barren, no trees, but anywhere where you might find small trees, you may instead now find different cactus and other succulent and desert type plants. Interestingly enough, Desperados also makes a pretty crazy change to the glowing sea. The glowing sea now is actually going to have the most life in the wasteland. It's going to be filled with pine trees and grass, and it's going to be basically the only location where you will find real wildlife like that. The rest of the wasteland is going to be completely barren desert. Now, it's going to vary person to person whether or not you like this change, especially for the New Vegas style, but in my opinion, this reminds me of the areas like Jacobstown, where there is still a little bit of life as we head up towards the more mountainous terrain, so I actually like this, and I think this sells a pretty good look to turn Fallout 4 into Fallout New Vegas, especially when we start pairing it with other mods. Now, this is going to cover most of your landscape needs right off the bat. You don't need too many more mods for that, but there is one that I do recommend pairing with this, and that is Dilapidated Roads, also by Spiffyskytrooper, and this one is going to completely retexture the roads. Now, you can use any road retexture you like, but I really like this one because it is made by the same author as Desperados, so it's going to have the same artistic style. Additionally, there are multiple versions of Dilapidated Roads you can choose from to change how dark or light the roads are. Specifically for me, I use charcoal as I think it's a really nice contrast to Desperados, and together, I think these make for a really cool, unique design, something that's very fitting of that desert style. And believe it or not, when I'm trying to go for a desert theme, that's all I use. Fallout 4 is one of those games where you can just download a couple of mods and the entire landscape is completely changed, so that part is really easy. Now that being said, I do have some other little mods that will help to make the game look even better, and that's why we're going to be talking about Reactor ENB. Now, Reactor ENB is not necessary for this desert style, however, I think it pairs very nicely with Desperados. It makes the game look very dry and bright and contrasty, and if you're a fan of ENBs, this is one of my favorite ones out there right now. And it's even recommended by Spiffy that you use NAC with Desperados, and Reactor is built to work with NAC, which is really cool. I won't spend too much time talking about Reactor ENB because it is just an ENB. You can mix and match and play with the ones that you like, but specifically the reason we're talking about this one is because of how it pairs with NACX by looping. That's the next mod we're going to be talking about. NACX is a huge weather mod, but it also makes some graphical changes and changes the way the game looks a little bit, and like I said, has that cool integration with Reactor. Additionally, if you're on console, you can't use Reactor ENB, but you can use NACX, which is the next best thing. This is going to add a lot of those graphical changes like Reactor to the game, but also it has a ton of customizability. It is a weather mod, so you can change the climate to exactly what you want. Since we're going for a desert theme, I recommend going in and grabbing a summer template so there won't be too much rain or snow. It's going to be a very dry climate. Additionally, you can add on different presets to change the way your game looks. You can add that orange hue that is in Fallout New Vegas. You can really customize the look of your game, and having something like this for any overhaul is going to be great because you can get the exact desired atmosphere with this one mod. If you're doing a Fallout 3 overhaul, you can make it look dark and green. If you're doing New Vegas, you can make it bright and orange, or you can make it your own style, which I really, really appreciate. Additionally, there are some other changes added with NAC, like the different screen effects when you use chems or get shot by bullets. You can play with those as you like. Those aren't necessary for our desired New Vegas overhaul. Now, that's going to wrap up most of our landscape and ENB and atmosphere sort of mods. Now we're going to be moving on to UI. And one of the most important UI elements we're going to be grabbing today is the Fallout 3 HUD by M8R98A4F2. This is actually a mod I didn't discover until recently, and I even talked about it in a Mods Weekly not too long ago. This is going to add in that classic style of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas HUD into Fallout 4, and it looks really nice. There are two versions of this mod, a large print and a small print version of the HUD. I typically go for the small HUD so it takes up less room on the screen, and it's still plenty big to read. This is going to not only add all of the elements back to their original locations from the past games, but it's even going to make the HUD look like the old HUD. Rather than the standard health bar, now you have the notched health bar from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which I really like. This HUD overhaul even plays nicely with other HUD elements like the classic radiation poisoning mod, which we'll talk about in a future gameplay episode, and I think that it makes for a really cool synergistic HUD mod. But there's even more that we can add to this to make it even better, and that is the classic fonts mod by Liz in Fifths. This adds the Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas font back into Fallout 4. We talked about this one not too long ago as well. This is going to change all of the font in the game, whether it's in your Pip-Boy, on a terminal, in a menu, on a loading screen, in the search bar. Everything has been changed back to the classic font, and it looks so good paired with the classic HUD. Combine these two things and you are pretty much back in Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, but on a new engine, which is really cool. Since we are doing a New Vegas overhaul this time around, go ahead and grab this HUD and this font and go into your in-game settings, and you can change up the colors to a nice amber. Now, there are actually mods out there you can download to get the exact amber, so if you want to go that route, you can do so. Alternatively, you can just play with it and get the color that you want. I actually prefer Fallout 4's color customization menu for the HUD, as you can tone down the amber just a little bit to make it a bit more subtle, which is my preference. The original New Vegas amber was a bit bright, but I wanted to go for something similar but a little bit more neutral. Now, another mod that is kind of leaning into gameplay territory but is mostly UI is Extended Dialogue Interface by Registrator 2000. Now, this is an absolutely incredible mod, and one that I don't think a lot of people understand. I've seen a lot of complaints about this mod whenever it's required for quests, but I've never understood that because this mod is actually excellent. This is going to, first of all, completely expand the dialogue interface, so instead of those goofy little one-quip response lines that you normally see, you actually have the full typed out response. But additionally, it's going to overhaul the menu. Rather than the up, down, left, right option, it's going to list them in a bar, similar to how full dialogue interface works, except Extended Dialogue Interface adds the options for you to have more than 4 responses. Now, in the vanilla game, that doesn't mean a whole lot because the vanilla game was designed of having only 4 responses at a time, but this allows mod authors who make quests to give you more than 4 responses at a time, just like it was in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. If you want to be able to ask 6 or 7 questions at a time, or be able to choose from 6 or 7 questions rather, you can do so using Extended Dialogue Interface, so that is really cool. Combining all of these UI mods with all of these landscape mods, and now your game feels a lot more like Fallout New Vegas, or that classic Fallout format that we're used to. But there is one more thing I kind of have to talk about if we're doing a New Vegas overhaul, and that is Project Mojave. Project Mojave won't fit into one specific category like we're going to break up this series, because it does everything. Project Mojave is going to add back a portion of Fallout New Vegas' map, as well as a lot of its enemies, weapons, armors, all of that stuff in one big package. Now, the goal of this series is to make Fallout 4's landscape and areas and enemies feel more like Fallout New Vegas, but if you want the easy route, just go use Project Mojave or pair it with all of the stuff I'm telling you here. Now you'll be able to have the desert in the Commonwealth, but you'll also be able to travel back to the Mojave, fight the classic enemies, use the armors, use the weapons, and all of that fun stuff. Though later on in the series, we will be adding a lot of the Project Mojave stuff and integrating it back into the Commonwealth with a lot of really cool, underrated mods. But even still, if you're going for that New Vegas style, there's no reason not to use Project Mojave. It just has so much bang for your buck, and you get to go back to some of those classic locations, including the Strip, use the functional casinos, and even build new settlements at the classic Mojave locations, which is really, really cool. Not to mention, a lot of the mods that we talked about today are going to carry over to Project Mojave. Maybe not the landscape overhauls, but definitely the ENB and the HUD elements. They're all going to play very nice with Project Mojave and give you that cool classic feel. So I definitely recommend trying all of these together because it's really fun and definitely super nostalgia heavy. But yeah, I think that covers basically everything for today's video. That's going to be all your landscape and HUD necessities for that New Vegas style gameplay, but next episode, we're going to be talking about actual gameplay elements. I'm talking about classic VATS, classic radiation, and a couple of other goodies, so stay tuned for that. Let me know if you guys like this series. This is something completely new for me, but I would love to continue it and talk about other cool New Vegas mods. And then when this is done, we can move on to other games like Fallout 3 or just other overhauls in general. So let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see and if you'd like me to continue the series. Whatever you guys want. You are the ones who drive this channel. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments and drop a rating. Consider subscribing if you haven't already and you want to see more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons for making every single video like this possible. Your guys' support is absolutely awesome. And of course, a very special thank you to Captain Chaos, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie Noid, Timmy76, Cushy, Moonlit Gamer, Feed, and Youth RC for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. You guys are so generous. If you want to support the channel or the mods I work on over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description below, but it's completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace!